who's actually going to get the most out of a ThinkStation like this, who can safely walk away, and does the price make sense for someone who just needs a solid everyday PC? Those are the 3 questions that keep most of us up at night before we click Add to Cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through why the Lenovo ThinkStation P3 Gen 2 can feel like a perfect fit for a very specific crowd, and why it might be a misstep for anyone else. First, the hesitation most buyers feel is rooted in the Workstation label itself. It sounds like a machine built for 3D rendering farms or massive data science clusters, yet the price tag sits in a range that's still reachable for a small business owner or a freelance designer. The mental math starts with the core, an Intel Core Ultra 9285 processor paired with vPro technology, 32 GB of RAM, and a 1 TB NVMe SSD. On paper that's a lot of horsepower, but the real question is whether you'll actually tap into it day to day. If you spend your work hours toggling between AutoCAD files, stitching together 4K video, or running AI-assisted design plugins, the Ultra 9's hybrid architecture shines. The CPU's blend of performance cores and efficiency cores means heavy calculations get handled quickly without throttling the rest of the system. I've seen freelancers who routinely load a 600 megabytes 3D model, run a simulation, and still have enough headroom to keep their email and web browser responsive. The 32 gigabytes of DDR5 memory eliminates the dreaded out-of-memory warnings that can cripple a long render, and the 1 terabyte SSD ensures those massive project files load in seconds instead of minutes. For a small studio that can't afford a multi-node server, the ThinkStation essentially packs a mini render farm onto a single tower. Remote management is another hidden strength that often gets overlooked outside of corporate IT circles. The vPro stack lets an administrator push updates, enforce security policies, and even troubleshoot the machine over the network without ever touching the desk. If you're a consultant managing a handful of client workstations, that capability can save you hours of travel time. The same technology also adds a layer of security for businesses that need to protect proprietary designs. Firmware-level controls make it harder for malware to get a foothold. Now let's talk about what you won't get. The ThinkStation P3 is a tower, but it doesn't come with a dedicated graphics card out of the box. Lenovo expects you to add one if you need serious GPU acceleration, which is fine for most engineering or video workflows that lean heavily on CPU-based rendering, but it's a trade-off for anyone who relies on CUDA cores or real-time ray tracing. In practice, that means you could end up spending an extra $300, $500 on a mid-range GPU just to hit the performance you expected from the headline specs. Also, the machine's physical size is that of a traditional desktop tower, roughly 14 inches tall, so it won't slide under a standing desk without a bit of rearranging. If you work from a cramped home office, you'll need to plan for that footprint. The DVD writer is a small, but sometimes decisive, feature. While most content creators have moved to USB-C or cloud storage, there are still niche scenarios like delivering final cuts to a client who only accepts physical media, or installing legacy software that make a built-in burner handy. It's the sort of detail that tells you Lenovo still thinks about the real-world use cases beyond the flashy specs. Value for money hinges on how you interpret the 3.9-star rating from roughly 400 reviewers. The score suggests a generally positive experience, but it also hints at a few compromises that users have noted: the lack of a pre-installed GPU, the learning curve of the vPro management tools for non-IT folks, and a price point that sits higher than a consumer desktop with similar storage and RAM. If you compare it to a typical gaming PC at the same price, you'll find the ThinkStation sacrifices graphical horsepower for raw CPU and enterprise features. That's a deliberate choice by Lenovo, targeting professionals rather than gamers. So, who should buy it? If you're a mechanical engineer, an architect, a video editor who leans on CPU-intensive codecs, or a data analyst dabbling in AI-driven models, the ThinkStation P3 gives you a reliable, upgrade-friendly base. The AI-powered technology baked into the Ultra 9 helps with tasks like predictive rendering or automated background removal, which can shave minutes off each project. Small businesses that need remote management without deploying a full-blown server will also find the vPro integration a cost-effective way to keep machines secure and up-to-date. Who should skip it? If your day-to-day revolves around web browsing, office suites, and occasional media consumption, you'll likely be paying for capabilities you never use. A mid-range consumer desktop with a decent GPU and a similar SSD would provide a smoother gaming experience for less money. Likewise, creative professionals who rely heavily on GPU acceleration, think heavy 3D sculpting in ZBrush or GPU-based video effects in DaVinci Resolve, will need to budget extra for a graphics card, which dilutes the all-in-one.